On today's show, a thriller in Denver. The road teams get a win. Kawhi Leonard goes off. Cade Cunningham goes off. But what was the key for both of them? We'll tell you on tonight's Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Bom, 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 and welcome. You're Locked On NBA Game Night. My name is Nick Angstadt, host of the Locked On Mavericks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being an everydayer and making Locked On NBA your first listen. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Joining me, as always, from Locked On Bucks, still alive in the playoffs. What'd you see in the NBA tonight, Camille Davis?
I saw some excellent games that made me wonder, how could anyone say that this version of the NBA is boring? Like, tonight's game showed you just the joy that this current version of the product is.
And 66 combined threes. Normal amount.
Yeah, nothing crazy.
Normal amount. Great basketball. It's just it's a completely different game sometimes from the regular season. We'll talk about Knicks versus Pistons. The Pistons do something they haven't done since 2008. We'll tell you what that is. Talk about Cade Cunningham and the win they got there. We'll also play Count It Up, where we count on the most interesting, fun things in the NBA. I was at the Nico Harrison press conference today, so we'll talk about that and talk about Nico Harrison did not assume something was going to happen. He did not anticipate something. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk briefly about the Hawks firing their GM Landry Fields. Get into that. But let's start here, Camille. The Clippers get a win on the road. Kawhi Leonard goes absolutely off. 39 points on 19 shots for Kawhi Leonard. And of course, we got to hear from our guy, Darian Vaziri of Locked On Clippers.
What a win for the LA Clippers. We wanted to see what kind of mental toughness, what kind of resilience they would have bouncing back from a tough loss in game one, and they did it. And Kawhi Leonard only scored 22 points, only shot 15 times in game one. 39-point response on 15 for 19 shooting. This is what Clipper fans have waited 6 years for. As far as adjustments, I thought the Clippers were allowing more double teams, or not allowing, but sending more double teams to Nikola Jokic and letting the other guys kind of beat him. And the strategy ended up working. We were able to force Jokic into some turnovers, ended up winning the game 105-102, 39 from Kawhi, and no other Clippers scored more than 16 points. It was truly kind of a carry job. We forced 7 turnovers on Jokic and 4 missed free throws, and that's the game, 1-1. Bring it back here, boy.
He leads the team, and they needed somebody to step up. In the squad show that you'll hear tomorrow, which is very hilarious, we recorded it earlier today, Matt Moore was going off about the Clippers need some kind of leader. They need somebody to step up. Who's going to lead? Is it Harden? Is it Kawhi? These quiet guys. Mm-hmm. Who's going to step up for this team? And Darian Vaziri, Locked On Clippers host, over and over again said, Kawhi leads by example. He leads by going out there. He's the one that's like the head of the snake, and he goes out there, leads by example. He's done it ever since he's been back from injury this season. And you saw it in this game that just anytime they needed a bucket, anytime you needed something to go to down the stretch, you had Kawhi Leonard, and that completely changes this Clippers team. You become a real threat in a series where you could look like, another team that doesn't have like a star player. You could look like the Rockets, where you're like, all right, who do we go to? Is it just Fred VanVleet taking up a bunch of shots? Instead, you have this alpha that steps up in this way like Kawhi Leonard, and it just completely changes a playoff team like tonight.
It does, because we know the playoffs, everything slows down in the playoffs. And sometimes some of the shots you're able to generate in the regular season with your ball movement and whatnot, you're not going to be able to get those same looks. So you're going to need some guys who can really go and get their own basket. And the Clippers offense at times can feel really ISO heavy because they have James Harden, because they have Kawhi Leonard. But on a night like tonight where Kawhi was just on 15-19 from the field for 39 points. 39 points on 19 shot attempts is nuts. Only 5 free throws for Kawhi to the road to 39 points tonight. A fantastic effort from Kawhi.
39 points on 19 shots has been done 21 times since the 3-point shot has been added in the NBA in the playoffs. Wild.
Kawhi. And they needed every single bucket, especially down the stretch when the game was getting tight and it felt like, man, they're playing great defense on Kawhi. They're even throwing doubles at him. It just did not matter. He continuously made the right play in this game. And it was just it's fun to watch a guy on a heater, especially when that's not against your own team.
Hey, I will never forget Game 6, 2021 against the Mavericks when he just went absolutely off, 45 points in that one. Kawhi had 3 shots down the stretch that I think were absolutely massive. Denver was sending doubles on the ball a lot. They sent some doubles on Kawhi when he got the ball, but there were sometimes they swung it around to him with enough time that he could take a shot. One of them was 5:44 left. He hits a 3 to put them up 94-92. They got the lead back. That was massive. Then with 2:23 left, he got another jumper to extend their lead to 3 points, 100-97. And then the jumper with 54 seconds left to make it 105-102, and then gets the steal right after that. That basically clinched the game, and he made the 2 biggest plays of the game right there.
He did. And that's where you have to start, I feel like, when talking about what the Clippers did. Well, Kawhi was just on one of those ones. And this Clippers offense, I mentioned, is really ISO heavy, but the other main action you see them run is like that James Harden, Zubac pick and roll a lot. Yeah. And Zubac has been a crucial guy. He was like the X factor that I picked out in this series because it's like, guarding Jokic is going to be difficult, but if anyone's kind of equipped to try to guard him one-on-one, Zubac is going to be that guy for you. I thought he came up big in this game along with James Harden with some timely buckets. Norm Powell, though, started the game. It was a struggle for Norm, but that 3 he hit down the stretch there to help push that lead up for them, a timely 3 for Norm Powell in a game where I felt like for the first 3 quarters, things were just not going right for him.
A wild sequence with 1:30 left. You're talking about Denver is doubling the ball. Kawhi Leonard, they swing it around to him. He misses a shot. Michael Porter Jr. gets the rebound, secures it. Then he falls down, turns it over, lands on his shoulder. I think, was it Norm Powell that landed on him?
I think so. They were like on the ground.
Yeah, him or Chris Dunn. They fall down. He turns it over, and then Norman Powell gets a 3 right there. It was tied 100-100, and then it was 103-100 at that point. Michael Porter Jr. leaves the game because a shoulder's bothering him. And so that's something I'm definitely monitoring because I thought Michael Porter Jr. had a bounce back game at least. He had 15 points, 15 boards, 6 offensive rebounds too for this team. They need somebody else to step up because the Nuggets have been playing these guys some really big minutes.
They have. And I was really happy to see the way that Michael Porter Jr. responded in this game, because when you're benched down the stretch of a playoff game, as he was in game 1, that can sometimes lead to some self-doubt or whatever the case may be. And he took that as a challenge, and he came out and he had a really impactful game, especially on the boards, I thought, for Michael Porter Jr. He got quite a few second chance opportunities for the Nuggets. He had 6 offensive rebounds by himself, 15 total rebounds, and go with his 15 points, hit some big shots down the stretch. And I just thought his activity was really good for the Nuggets in this game. And they really needed him to kind of bounce back after getting benched down the stretch for Westbrook, who also the 2 big threes down the stretch again for Westbrook in the corner.
I saw Kofi, who used to work for Secret Base SB Nation, posted that Russell Westbrook is the Mario Kart item box.
I saw. You never know what you're gonna get.
The question mark box that spins and you punch it and you never know what you're gonna get out of it. And then somebody else posted a video of like the question box sound anytime Westbrook got the ball at the end of the game in game 1. But yeah, it felt like that in this one. And hey, it came up all, I don't know, golden mushrooms. Like, I don't know what, the blue shells. Like, I don't know what it came to, but he hit 3 threes. He's been left wide open, completely wide open. The Clippers were helping off of Westbrook to double Jokic all the time in this game. They just kept doing it over and over again, and it didn't end up working out for them in the end, I guess. But yeah, this one is just, you chop it up to the star player was better for Jokic. 26 points, 12 boards, 10 assists. He had 7 turnovers, only took 16 shots, played 43 minutes, played the entire second half. Let's hear from Swipa from Locked On Nuggets about the Nuggets side of this.
The Denver Nuggets lose to the Los Angeles Clippers 105-102. Man, Kawhi Leonard, Terminator mode, 39 points on one of the most efficient, tough jump shooting performances you will ever see. Nikola Jokic gets his 19th career playoff triple-double, but it's not enough. 4 missed free throws from Jokic today. That ends up being the difference in the game, on top of 7 turnovers, forcing the ball all over the place. Just not the best Jokic game, even though he played very well. Jamal Murray hit some really key shots in this game, especially off of the drop coverage versus Ivica Zubac. Michael Porter Jr. responds with a 15-point double-double, 15 and 15 today, but has a late turnover when the game is tied that leads to a Norman Powell three. This was a game of run. This was a game of back-and-forth shot making, and the Clippers, they get this one. We're headed back to L.A. 1-1.
Best series in the NBA. What's your key for the Nuggets to win game 3 on the road?
This is one of those series where it's two heavyweights, and it's literally just like which team is going to make the fewest amount of mistakes to kind of come out of this one on top. And I think for the Nuggets, one thing they have to do a better job of is just taking care of the ball. 20 turnovers is far too many in any NBA game, especially come playoff time. And when you look at who committed most of those turnovers, when you see that Jokic had 7, Jamal Murray had 4, if over half of your turnovers there, you know, they're coming from the guys who are really taking care of the ball, have the ball in their hands, making decisions. Just need a little bit more from them, better decision-making, taking care of the ball a little bit better. And really, you just got to keep hooping. Like, that's all of this series has been. Continue staying disciplined with your principles, and may the best team win that makes the fewest amount of mistakes down the stretch.
Best shooting big in the league missed 4 free throws in this game and also turned the ball over 7 times. Right? Like, he just has to be better, and that's it. And I think he can be, obviously, right? Like, if that's your key, I think you're feeling okay if you're a Nuggets fan at that point. Coming up, let's get into the Pistons versus the Knicks. Of course, Monday would have the Pistons win on game night because we've had the Pistons win all season. Stick around because you're going to want to hear what Koo has to say about this game. Locked On NBA Game Night coming up. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds, things that you can use to get in on the action. Right now, you put down $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Let's see how the series has changed for the Nuggets and the Clippers. So you can bet on this right now. Clippers minus 174 to win the series. Nuggets plus 146 to win the series. So for the Clippers, you bet $174 to win $100. Nuggets, you can bet $100 to win $146. So you got some better odds on the Nuggets right there. So if you're still a believer in the Nuggets and Nikola Jokic, put some money down on there. And if you just put down $5 on that, you can get $250 in bonus bets. If that $5 bet wins, you got to be confident what you're putting it on. FanDuel.com. Check the website to see what is available in your area. FanDuel.com. Please gamble responsibly. Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA Game Night, being part of the show, listening to us every day. We have a newsletter for your favorite team, LockedOnDaily.com. Locked On Bucks has got one. Locked On Mavs got one. I don't know if you want to read the Mavs one every day. Just either it makes you sad or makes you mad every day. I don't know what's going on with this franchise. But let's talk about a franchise that's making their Locked On host very, very happy. The Pistons get a playoff win. Their first playoff win since 2008. That is a whole
different person back then.
Camille, that is 4 presidencies ago.
Sheesh.
2008 was Obama's first year.
The first election Biden, I voted in.
And Trump again. 4 presidencies since then. Kuka Hill, what you got for me?
So just real quick. I'm just a little confused. I'm just a little lost here. I thought that there was a Cade Cunningham stopper on the other team. I thought there was no way Cade was going to play better than he did in his first ever playoff game. I thought there was no way Jalen Duren and Asar Thompson were going to look better than they did in the first playoff game. I thought as soon as Cade sees OG Anunoby, he starts shivering and doesn't know what to do. What happened? I'm just a little confused because I didn't see none of that. I saw Cade look like the best player on the floor while OG Anunoby wasn't effective defensively and didn't do nothing offensively. I saw Jalen Duren completely outplay an all-NBA big in Karl Anthony Towns. I saw a team get out physical tonight. I thought the Pistons' physicality wasn't. I thought the Knicks were just as physical. I'm just confused because I must have watched a different game. I'm just confused. Someone help me out. Pistons heading back to Detroit 1-1. They really outplayed the Knicks for like 7 of the 8 quarters in this series. They're heading back to Detroit 1-1. We'll see you in Detroit, New York. You better strap your boots up. And real quick, just come here real quick. It was probably a better idea to learn how to play defense and get physical rather than flop around. That would be my suggestion. If you want to win in Detroit, you gotta come ready. Flopping ain't gonna do it.
Oh. Oh,
OG's a gangster. His real name's Clarence. just going off.
and Clarence's parents have a real nice marriage. My goodness.
They do. Cool. Unloading the clip on their first win since 2008. You got to give it up for them.
Yes.
I mean, this was, like he said, they've outplayed them except for that fourth quarter of game one with the 21-0 run. Like the Pistons basically just, pooped their pants that quarter, and the rest of it, the Pistons have out-physicaled them, and their defense just really disrupted everything the Knicks were trying to do except for Brunson stuff. Cat took no shots in the last, 19 minutes of the game.
This is one of those games when you're watching it. I thought we were going to have a repeat of game one down the stretch there in the fourth quarter because the Pistons offense started to stall a bit and we saw the Knicks kind of going on a run. And I was like, no way this is going to happen. 2 games in a row where the Pistons were outplaying the Knicks for the first 3 quarters. Like, no way this happens again. And in this game, the Pistons found a way. Cade Cunningham definitely looked like the best player on the floor. But take a moment here, and I'm going to give a shout out to Dennis Schroeder because he hit some big shots down the stretch for this Pistons team to walk out with a victory. And that's a guy who, when he was traded to Golden State, wasn't looking great. He ends up in Detroit off of that Jimmy Butler trade. And for Detroit, it's like, hey, another ball handler, someone who can initiate a little bit. And it's been a little up and down at times, but he popped up and came through at one of the biggest times in this season for the Pistons.
You mentioned it. It was a 19-6 stretch for the Knicks to tie it 94-94 with a minute 14 left. Schroeder pull up 3, up 3. Schroeder fouled, gets the free throw line, hits another 3, up 4, and that's the basically how the game ended with free throws back and forth down the stretch. Huge shots in that moment. That 3 especially, and in a game where you're scoring 18 points in a quarter, you're scoring 20 points in a quarter. Just every single little thing matters. And we mentioned, you said Cade looked like the best player on the floor. In that third quarter, it was 20-18 in that quarter. He scores 9 points. 9 of the 38 total points in that quarter. Like, you just need they just need to put any buckets together that they possibly can and just scrounge them together. They're not getting threes at all in this game. 6 of 27 from 3 in this one. Also, we should mention Isaiah Stewart for the Pistons was not playing, so they had to play Paul Reed 11 minutes in that stretch. Jalen Duren, I thought was great in the minutes that he played. But the defense of the Pistons, like OG and Mikal Bridges just turned into a jump shooter. He took 11 threes, only made 3 of them. OG and Hart, you can't really ask them to do a lot. You can't ask them to dribble that much against this team. Like, it makes their players who look so multi-dimensional against certain teams. Like, you play certain teams, you go, oh my gosh, this Knicks offense has so many options across the board. And if you start turning their guys into one-dimensional players, it just takes so many options off the board. And then it's just Brunson doing his thing. And Brunson got it done. 37 points he took 27 shots, but still, I mean, like, that's what you want from your number one.
Yeah, and he was smart. I mean, down the stretch, the last foul that he got Asar Thompson on, he laid on the ground afterwards and threw up 6 with his hands. And I was like, oh, yeah. Like, Brunson knew what he was doing. He needed to get Thompson out the game because he was making life difficult for him at that point in the fourth quarter. So right after he went out, that's when the Knicks kind of went on a little bit of a run themselves. So Brunson did what he could throughout, but it was difficult for him. And for star players, I say it often, normally you're not going to take away their entire game. All you can try to do is make it difficult for them, make them have to work for their general points that they get. And the Pistons did a great job of that with Brunson in this game. So a big shout out to that Pistons defense, especially with them being without Isaiah Stewart, who, as we know, is a big part of what they do defensively as one of them backline anchors coming off the bench. And they found a way to scrap together enough for a win, even with, some of the other guys on this team for the Pistons not coming through in a way you thought. Like, if you would have told me Tim Hardaway would go 0 for 8 in a game for the Pistons and they would win it, and I would have been like, oh, someone must have meant like super crazy from the field in this game. But Dennis Schroeder, along with Cade Cunningham.
I would not have been surprised if you told me Tim Hardaway went over.
I'm sure you would. And
I was like, the first part of that sentence, I would not be surprised. First, Pistons playoff win. They literally got swept 3 times since they've been in the playoffs last, since 2008. Can you name, little bonus counted up here, can you name the 7 active players that were playing in 2008?
On this team currently?
No, in the NBA. There's only 7 in the entire NBA that were playing in 2008. There's some obvious ones.
Of course, you got to go with like LeBron.
Bron.
I'm going to assume KD.
KD.
Russ.
Nope. Think
Sure.
Another guard, old guard.
It's not Harden. Chris Paul.
Chris Paul.
Ooh, who else?
Old big won a championship last year.
Is Jeff Green out here?
Jeff Green is out there. That's not the one I was thinking, but yeah, Jeff Green.
There to be Jeff Green. Who won championship? Oh, Al Horford.
Horford, yep.
How many more I got to go?
There's a grit and grind guard. Actually, they both played for the Grizzlies at one point.
Mike Conley.
Conley.
Who else was down there with them that's still in the league right now?
An unconfirmed BBL.
Who got BBLs out here, Nick? Because when I hear BBL, it's not. Oh, wait. Is it Kyle Lowry?
Jesus.
Took me a second. I was like, only play I can think of is Kyle. I was like, oh, Kyle did play down there in Memphis for a bit.
The top scorers in the playoffs in 2008 were Kobe, LeBron, Tracy McGrady, Dirk Nowitzki, and Allen Iverson. Those are the top 5 scorers in the playoffs. The last time the Pistons won a playoff game. Let's hear from our guy, Gavin Shaw from Locked On Knicks about the Knicks side of all this.
The New York Knicks dropped game 2 against the Detroit Pistons after another spirited fourth quarter comeback effort falls short. They head back to Detroit, tied 1-1 in their first round series. I'm Gavin Shaw of the Locked On Knicks podcast. Some similar themes in this one for the New York Knicks, including an over-reliance on a starting 5 that has played more minutes than any other 5-man group in the NBA and has had a negative net rating since the All-Star break. Detroit figured out what a lot of people have figured out against that group, which is if you double Karl-Anthony Towns and Josh Hart is on the floor, the Knicks are not likely to be very successful offensively. Jalen Brunson fell into some bad habits, playing hero ball, which is just a little more harmful when you traded some of your defense for a whole lot of offense over the summer. And you can't leverage that offense because Jalen is taking bad shot after bad shot over double teams. And then down the stretch of this game, Mikal Bridges, who I thought was in the midst of maybe a signature playoff performance, really good on both ends of the floor. He misses 4 straight shots, including the heartbreaker with under 30 seconds to go. Jalen Brunson manufactures a wide open straight on 3 for him. Bridges misses it off front rim, and that does it. Detroit able to go home and take the win. We'll have much more over on Locked On Knicks.
Coming up, let's get into Mavs. Nico Harrison speaks again. For what reason, we don't know, but we learned a little bit in this one, including why he thinks he shouldn't be fired. He was asked that specifically. We'll talk about that and more coming up. Locked On NBA Game Night.
Big chicken, baby. Zion Williamson and porn star.
Take that for that.
Count it up. Count it up. Count it up. Count it up. Count it up.
It's Counted Up, where we count all the most interesting, fun things in the NBA. This happened today, so we might as well talk about it. It's news. They'll talk about it more in depth on the Daily Show. But the Hawks fired their GM Landry Fields. The Hawks were 201 and 199 under Landry Fields as GM. My question is,
count it up.
Is there anything more mid in the NBA than the Hawks?
No, they're like a play-in staple at this point, and you don't become a play-in staple without a lot of mid going on.
And my other question about the Hawks, if you're the new GM, what's your first move?
My first move is to have a conversation with Trae Young, figure out how he's feeling about the direction of the franchise. And if he's still down to continue riding it out in Atlanta, then it's kind of okay, figuring it out. Because I think that they have a nice groundwork of what can work around Trae Young, surrounding him with, tall, lengthy wing defenders and guys who can go and create in that way. So I think the blueprint is there. So it's just figuring out other guys who can kind of fit into that mold.
I think you got to get a real defensive center if you're going to keep Trae Young. I guess you're right. The first move is you move towards Trae Young in some way and say, all right, what do you want to do, and make that decision. I don't think they need to trade Trae Young. I don't think it's one of those things unless the relationship is completely destroyed to the point where this is just not going to work anymore. It's like the stars we've seen across the league. But yeah, I think he turned into a different type of player, and I think he took on a different role this year because he wasn't taking as many shots. He was getting 20 assists in games. We've had him on game night a bunch this year, and I think you just got to shore up the defense, and you've got to add another offensive playmaker in some way because it just didn't have enough overall.
Yeah, and when Jalen Johnson went down, to be honest with you, I didn't even expect for the Hawks to make it to the play-in. So for the rest of the crew to kind of put this together with their defense and just their speed and athleticism, like I think they have something here. And I think Ricochet also started playing well as the season ended. So I'm curious to see what he looks like in year 2. Like there are some pieces in Atlanta that could be really interesting going forward.
The Dallas Mavericks GM, Nico Harrison, spoke in front of Dallas media. The first time, by the way, he's spoken in front of Dallas media, local media, because the first time after the Luka trade, he spoke in front of Cleveland media, basically. And like before that game, he tacked on to Jason Kidd's pregame press conference for that one. And then he recently did like a private invite only to 15 media members in the market, secret roundtable that they weren't allowed to have cameras or recording devices or anything in. And so this is the first time since in the 2 months since the trades happened, we've actually gotten to sit down. And so my co-host Isaac Harris kicked us off in an incredible way.
Isaac from Locked On Mavs. When
I'm sorry.
No, my bad. When Luka comes back to town, the Lakers game's happening, and you're standing there, and there's thousands of people chanting for you to be fired. That's an experience that none of us, no one's chanting for for us to lose our jobs. Why shouldn't you be fired?
Well, one, I think I've done a really good job here, and I don't think I can be judged by the injuries this year. You have to judge from totality, from beginning to end, and so I think I have a really good working relationship with Patrick. I think you add in Rick, the leadership that we have is really elite, and you'll see next year when our team comes back, we're going to be competing for a championship.
Scale of 0 to 5, Camille.
Count it up.
How would you rate the job Nico has done? He thinks he's done a good job.
Boy, at this point, it's probably like a 2, and that's being generous. Probably a 2. I still don't understand the logic behind trading Luka in that situation where you don't find the best offer available, and then you trade him for a guy that's older. You had concerns about Luka's conditioning, and you trade him for a guy who, while very talented, let me be very clear, AD is talented, and I do get the idea of what that defense could look like fully healthy, but he has health concerns. So like the logic of the reasoning they've given behind why they did the Luka trade doesn't make sense with the actions that they actually took to make that trade. So I'll give him a 2 at the moment. And the only reason it's not a 1 is because there were some injuries. So you get a little leeway there, but the leeway is not going to last long.
I was at a 2 as well because it's below average, and you've got to give him some credit for making the finals and making the Western Conference Finals.
That too.
Yes, the Western Conference Finals team, he didn't really build that whole team. He was, it was his first year basically. But he did build a team that went to the finals, and like that's worth it. He's made some moves that have worked out really well. Kyrie Irving is a risk that he took that was really great. Derek Lively was a draft pick he made that was awesome. Trading for PJ, trading for Daniel Gafford. Those were both moves that worked out really well for him. And so you've got to give him some credit for that. But man, it just all went away in this last one move. Like I've never seen a GM or just even a figure in a front office have such a high approval rating and then just completely get taken out from under him to where 20,000 people are chanting fire Nico in that game where Luka Doncic came back to town.
It was crazy. I mean, you hear all the time of like how trust is so easy to build up and easy to break, and it's like it takes forever to rebuild it. And Nico now has to rebuild trust with an entire city and fan base, and that's going to take time and winning.
A lot of winning.
Yep.
I had the same kind of question as you. How did he convince people to make this move, to make them move to bring in Anthony Davis and send out Luka Doncic? And I specifically wanted to know, he mentioned Patrick earlier in that clip before. That's Patrick Dumont. He's the governor of the Mavericks that took over for Mark Cuban. So I asked Nico this question. Patrick Dumont initially laughed at you when you brought him the Luka trade. What did you say to convince him to approve it?
It wasn't really it wasn't really a laugh. It was more of a chuckle. But really it was just, I'd said it out of the blue. And then as we started talking more, I gave him reasoning behind it. And, we're a very process-oriented organization. And everything we do is without emotion and goes through the lens of process. And so once we had those substantive discussions, then he saw the vision.
Camille, my question.
Count it up.
What's the difference between a chuckle and a laugh to you?
Okay, so a chuckle is kind of cute. It's almost a giggle, but not quite as childish. So a chuckle can, like it's real, real calm, right? But then the laugh, you just gave us a laugh. It's a little bit deeper from the belly,
It's full. It's full in there. That was the thing. I was like, that's the thing you have qualms about in that right, question. The difference between a chuckle and a laugh. But the thing that I got in there, he obviously didn't answer the question. He didn't say what he said to Patrick Dumont, but he did say that we are a process-oriented organization now. We're going to go through process. Has process ever worked for a team in the past? I don't know. Specifically, there's one that I remember that didn't work out so well. The other thing is that he said we take the emotion out of it. And honestly, he did. 100% took the emotion out of this completely. And he admitted today, this is the first time we've actually heard him admit that he underestimated the amount of response that fans would give for trading a player like Luka Doncic. And I think that's the thing that I take away from all of this is that they underestimated it. They looked through the lens of, I don't think this is a good investment to give Luka Doncic a $350 million supermax contract. And that's what they decided. They said, all right, we'll take the risk of getting some blowback from fans, but we'll recover from it. And he mentioned several times in this press conference, we were waiting to see this team full before I came in front of the media because we wanted you guys to see the vision. He literally said that. We wanted you guys to see the team in full on the court so you could see the vision. He talked about in that question you just heard that he told Patrick Dumont about this and Patrick Dumont saw the vision. He had a vision for this team, and he said defense wins championships a million times since the trade has happened. But that's what he sees. And honestly, he just underestimated a lot in all of this. And I just think that it's crazy. It's crazy, all of this.
He underestimated it, and then it feels like every time he speaks, he makes it somehow worse, which is a really unique gift to have. To every time you come out, you make that same fan base even more agitated every time when you're trying to explain it and clean it up some. So I don't know exactly what that piece of it says, but I think there's something to that every single time, even people who aren't fans of the Mavericks are like, all right, dog, I'm tired of hearing you try to justify this. Barkley
did that on TNT tonight. My thing is, I think I'm gonna go the opposite way. Just keep coming out and talking about it. Do a press conference, do a weekly press conference. Just keep showing your face and say, all right, I'll just keep answering the same questions, guys. We just keep doing it, and then eventually maybe it'll just numb Mavs fans to the point where it's just like, let's forget about it. Just keep doing it.
That could work. I'm not gonna lie.
Right? Listen, we'd love to talk about the draft prospects we had to do workouts this week.
Nope. We're gonna talk more about Luka.
They're just gonna keep asking about the Luka trade. I also wonder at what point is this tampering that he's talking about a player that's not on the team anymore?
I didn't even consider that part of it. But he should be careful because
I've been thinking about that.
If he employs your game plan of, hey, let's just keep talking about this, some fines might be forthcoming.
Would that be the most satisfying thing for Mavs fans? Nico Harrison fined $50,000 for tampering, talking about Luka Doncic.
Fans probably find him more, find a loophole,
they would not
find a reason.
The Mavs fans will not be satisfied, and a lot of them will never forgive Nico Harrison for what he did in all this.
Yeah,
and
I can understand that.
It's wild watching this. Hopefully, you can forgive us for talking about the Luka trade one more time because we're just going to keep doing it as long as they keep bringing it up. But guys, thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA Game Night. Go check out the great shows all across the network covering these playoff teams all the time, every single day. Check out LockedOnDaily.com for the newsletters. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On NBA Game Night. Boom.